Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey, podcast family. Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 271. I'm Phil Graham. I've got a great episode for you guys today. We're going to be doing a Facebook ads frequently asked question episode where I take your questions that you guys sent me through email and through DMs, and I answer those questions. We're going to be talking about budgets, some secrets, some top tips, and a lot more. It's going to be a really good mix of strategic and tactical questions. And as usual, it's going to be full of value, and we're going to keep it short and sweet. So welcome to the show today, my friends. I'm super glad you're here. It is beautiful here in Seattle this summer. The weather is amazing. And I hope wherever you are, regardless of the weather, I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're doing great things. And I hope you're taking advantage, most importantly, of the opportunity that you have in front of you, which is running ads. It is so beneficial and it's so powerful, and it's the perfect time to be doing that. So make sure that you're actually taking action and you're doing it the right ways, and that you're not missing out on all that opportunity. I want to jump into the content. Before we do, real quick, if you guys want some one-on-one coaching so you can actually learn this stuff one-on-one the right way and learn the right stuff, or if you actually want somebody to run your ads for you, somebody that you trust, and then you can focus on doing what you do best. For either one of those things, you can reach out to me by going to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital, and we will connect, hop on a short Zoom call, and see if it's the right fit. I really, truly do care, and I really want to help you. So with that being said, let's jump into this week's episode, and we're going to jump right in with question number one. It's from Mark, and Mark asks, "Hey, Phil, should I be advertising on TikTok instead of Facebook?" Sorry, Mark. I did not mean to laugh out loud. I'm sorry. I like TikTok. The thing that got me laughing was the word instead. Instead of Facebook, not a chance. No way. Facebook is still by far the number one platform on the planet. And when I say Facebook, I also mean Instagram and WhatsApp and, all that stuff. Facebook, Meta, whatever we want to call it, has over 2.9 billion monthly active users. They have by far the most monthly active users than any other platform in the world. So first of all, what I tell most people is Facebook and Instagram should be your standard. That should be your main place to advertise. However, my next question is going to address TikTok. I actually like TikTok and I like TikTok ads. And I do think that you could be advertising on TikTok in addition to Facebook, but instead of Facebook, no way, definitely not. Question number two comes from Charlotte, and she asks, "Do you recommend running ads on other platforms in addition to Facebook? And if so, which platforms?" So I love that. That is the right way to think. In addition to Facebook, not instead of. Again, for most brands, Facebook and Instagram should be the primary place to run ads. They have the most users by far. However, that being said, I still like a lot of other platforms. And as an agency, we run ads on many other platforms for our clients. We run ads on TikTok, which I actually really like for ads, and Pinterest and Google and YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitter and Snapchat and many other platforms. So I'm a fan of all those platforms in terms of running ads. And yeah, I do recommend running ads on some of these in addition to Facebook. Here's the key. It's going to depend on your budget, because what you don't want to do is spread everything too thin. If you've got a small budget or not that large of a budget and you spread it out amongst many platforms, that's probably not going to help you. So if you have a real healthy budget and you can afford multiple platforms, then I would definitely make sure your primary stuff is on Facebook and Instagram, but then I would pick a second platform, and it's going to depend on the kind of business you are, whether that's TikTok or YouTube or Google or one of these other platforms. But I would pick a second platform that you want to focus on and start running ads there. That's basically how we do it with clients. We have a primary and then a secondary. And if they have a large enough budget, we're on every platform as well. But for a lot of advertisers, they're going to pretty much have just a few platforms. And so what I would recommend totally depends on what kind of business you are and who your audience is and things like that. So I can't just say, just do YouTube or just do TikTok. It really depends. I will say, in addition to Facebook and Instagram, some of my favorite platforms to advertise on are YouTube, Google, and TikTok. I think those are really interesting and powerful, and we love advertising on those platforms as well. I think Pinterest also has a ton of potential and gets overlooked. So there's lots of opportunity there, as well as a few others that I did not mention. So if you have the budget for it, yes, I think you should be also advertising on some of these other platforms. That's something that we help clients with. I even help some of my coaching clients with doing that on other platforms, and it is very, very powerful. All right, question number 3 comes from Tanya. She asks, hey, Phil, I love your podcast. Thanks for offering so much value. I have a question. How is inflation affecting Facebook ads, and what can we do about it? So first of all, thank you for the kind words, Tanya. I really appreciate it. And that's a really good question. In fact, all of these questions today are great questions. So thanks to everyone for submitting them. So inflation is an interesting thing. Before recording this podcast, I looked into a bunch of our client accounts. We have a lot of clients, so I can see tons of data. And guess what? For a large percentage of our clients, we actually have a much lower CPM, which is the cost of running ads to 1,000 people. We have a much lower CPM so far in July than we had in June. So our ad cost for a lot of these clients have actually gone down recently. It's actually gotten cheaper to run ads so far this month. Now, obviously, it depends on many factors, and that can fluctuate. It could go back up or not. It could keep going down. But in general, I'm loving our CPMs right now. I feel like we're getting ads at a discount. When it comes to our ad costs that I'm seeing anyway, we're actually paying less than what I would expect to pay in a lot of situations. So I'm loving it. I want more. Like, give me better CPMs. Let's keep getting discounts here. I love it. Now, again, that can always change, but there are things we do to try and get lower CPMs. There are tactics and strategies. I've done episodes on that. So if you haven't listened to that, you can always go back to a previous episode and check it out. But in general, the ad costs, in my opinion, are really good right now. So when it comes to inflation in general, here's my take on this. There's 2 different types of businesses or entrepreneurs or brands. They face a challenge like inflation. And one will just essentially be like a deer in the headlights, stop everything, freak out, stop advertising and all that stuff. To me, that's the worst thing you can do. I always say, if there's inflation or a challenging environment, that's actually typically the best time to be advertising more, not less. Like, this is where you really need to be advertising more, because there's so much opportunity out there and you need to be able to grab that. And prices are good right now. So be entrepreneur or brand number 2 who actually sees this as an advantage, as an opportunity, and takes advantage of that. And that's how I look at it. There's no just one way to do things, obviously, but I just see so much opportunity. And I think for those that are advertising, it's a great time to be advertising, and most brands should be doing it even more, not less, definitely more for most. Question number 4 comes from Bradford. He asks, hey, Phil, where can I listen to all of your podcast episodes? iTunes only has the last 100 episodes. Well, first of all, Bradford, great question. And that's a great point. I'm not sure if Spotify and Google Play also only have 100. I think a lot of them do it that way, but many people don't realize I've actually been doing this podcast for 5.5 years, every single week. And here we are on episode 271. So there's a lot more than 100 episodes. And if you go back even to the early days, a lot of that stuff is amazing and could still apply today. So yeah, there's lots of great info that you can listen to if you can get a hold of the previous shows. So what I'm going to do is we're actually working on doing something on our website, philgrahamdigital.com/podcast, where we're going to have all the episodes that I've ever done. Right now, it just takes from the normal feed. So it's got the last 100 there as well. But I'm going to add everything from the past. It's going to take a little bit of time. So I will let you guys know. I will announce it here on the podcast when that's ready. But eventually we'll have all the episodes there. So you can always come to the site and listen to previous episodes when they're not available on the normal platforms like Spotify and iTunes and stuff like that. All right. Question number 5 comes from Mike. He asks, hey, Phil, what do you use to create your landing pages? So that's a great question. There's a couple different things. And first of all, what we use for us is different than clients, because a lot of times clients have their own solutions and software that they've already purchased. And so I use everything because we work with lots of different clients. For our personal pages and stuff, there's a couple things that I use. My primary is WordPress. The reason why I like WordPress so much is because I have total control. I can make it look however I want it to look. I'm not dependent on a third-party platform. They're not seeing my data either. And there's just a lot of pluses, and we're good at it. So I really like WordPress. However, there are times where I might use something that's really quick, something like Lead Pages. I think for the money, Lead Pages is a really good value for creating pages. There are lots of good options to create your pages. One thing that I don't want you or anyone else to get stuck on, though, is thinking that what you use to create your pages is going to define your success. That's not true. Some people think they have to use, this type of software to succeed. And it's insane. Think of landing page software like tools you would use to build a house. It's good to have good tools, but you need the skill of building a house, regardless of the tool. And if somebody is skilled, then that's the most important thing. They can use many different tools, but the skill is the most important thing. So don't get caught up in what you're using. If you're using something right now and you're happy with it, keep using it. If you're not happy with it or you feel like you're wasting money, then there is probably cheaper options. The tool doesn't really matter that much. What matters is your skill. And so stay focused on that. Now, in the future, I'm going to actually have an episode that talks about all of the software we use, what our workflows are, and I'll give you my whole software stack. I'll give you everything that I use for dashboards, for tracking, for creating ads, for landing pages, for everything. So we'll do that in a future episode. So stay tuned for that. Question number 6 comes from Olivia. She says, I know you talk a lot about testing properly. What's the best way to test an ad? And that is a common question I get so often, and I see people doing it wrong all the time. So first of all, when you really truly want to properly test, you should be testing between 2 things where there's just one significant difference between the 2, and that's it. Just one. There are times where, for various reasons, because there's always exceptions, sometimes I'll do something different and it'll have like 3 or 4 different things. But for most people, and even for most of the testing that I personally do as well, there's only one change that I'm testing. So for example, let's say we've got a creative. Let's say it's an image with a headline and some ad copy. And let's say it's doing good. It's at benchmark, but it's not crushing it. It's just doing good, not great. If I want to see if I can improve that and do even better, I could try 5 different things. However, if I do, I won't know which one of those things actually caused the result. What I do, my philosophy is we take what's working right now and we try and improve it by testing one significant difference. So I might just change the headline and run a split test, and that's it. That's the only change. Or I might change the image, or I might keep everything the same, but change a video and put a video in there and run it against an image. But I'm not always going to do a new video and a different headline and different ad copy, etc. Like I'm typically just going to change one thing at a time, because within a short amount of time, I'm going to know whether that one change was a negative or a positive. And that's going to make me smarter about what we're doing and make me a lot better and allow me to scale properly and change what doesn't work in a better, more effective way. I do have episodes on testing, so make sure and go back and listen to some of those, and I'll do more in the future as well. Question number 7 comes from Sophia, and we're staying on the topic of testing. She asks, if you could only test one thing in an ad, what would it be? That's a good question. Dang, you're trying to be difficult, Sophia. No, I'm just kidding. That is a good question. You're making me think here. If I could only test one thing, that is a tough question. If I had to pick, if you literally had a gun to my head, there's so many different things I could say, but I'm going to say the ad angle. When I say ad angle, I mean like the angle of our ad copy, what the copy says, how we're, hooking them in the beginning, things like that. To me, I think that is so insanely important. For example, recently there was a campaign that we were running and we were doing really well, but I decided, hey, let's create a little story at the beginning of the ad. Before we talk about the benefits of the product and service, and before we talk about some of the other things we were saying, and the angle of using the story first absolutely crushed what we were doing originally. And what we were originally doing was working really good, but just changing the ad angle of the ad copy made a huge difference. That's a tough question though, because you could easily make a huge difference with just a different headline or a different image or a different thumbnail or video. Those are all great things to test. But yeah, if I only could choose one thing, it would be the ad angle, because I could do so much with that. I could do so many different tests, and you could have angles on so many different things. You could use an angle around a story, like I mentioned. You could use pain points as an ad angle. Benefits of your product or service. You could tap into fears or hopes. There's so many different ways you can use ad angles. And what I want you guys to think about ad angles, think of them like different roads. Imagine your product or service being the destination, but the angle that you use in your ad, the ad copy, is like different roads. Doing business with you is the destination. So imagine you're going on this little trip and it's like 3 hours away. That's the destination. And let's say there's 2 different ways to get there. One way is a straight shot on the freeway, and the other way is windy country roads with a beautiful view, but it takes twice as long as the freeway. Which way would you rather go to get to the destination? Some people are going to be like, I just want to get there as fast as possible. I don't care about the view. Let's just go with the freeway. While others do not want to do that at all. They would much rather take a leisurely drive, enjoy the view, even if it means it takes longer. And guess what? They both go to the same destination. They end up in the same place, but how they got there was different. And if you were trying to get somebody to your destination and they want to take the country roads, but you're sending them ads, metaphorically speaking, about the freeway to get there, you're going to miss a lot of people. So if you figure out how they want to go to your destination of doing business with you, that can be very powerful. And using different ad angles and then evaluating the data to see what works and what doesn't can get you to know what's going to give you the most success when it comes to ads. So that was a really long answer, but it's really powerful stuff. Thank you for that question, Sophia. Last but not least, question number 8 comes from Johnny. Johnny says that he's got $30 a day to spend on Facebook ads. Should he do 6 $5 ads per day or something different? So what I would say is, number one, there's not just one way of doing it. In fact, if anybody says, just do it this way and that's the right way, don't ever do it another way, that's BS. Run the other way. So there's not just one way. However, I will say, I definitely would not do 6 $5 a day ads in this scenario. I've tested this many, many times, and we have much better results doing something different. And again, what do I go on? I go on data. If you're spreading yourself that thin, where you're doing all these cheap $5 a day ads, it's going to take what seems like forever to get any kind of decent data to know what's working and what doesn't. And you're just going to be spending money forever, practically waiting for data. And that's very challenging. Like, you don't want to do that. Secondly, imagine this. So imagine you're spending $5 a day for an ad set, and let's say somebody else is spending $20 a day. Well, for one thing, they're getting data 4 times faster than you, and they can use data to make smart decisions 4 times faster. But let's look at it a second way. Imagine looking at Facebook's point of view. Let's say Facebook has these 2 advertisers, and they're both targeting the same audience. They know that there's different qualities and levels of people in that audience. They know there's some people that are more likely to buy things and take action, and they know that others are less likely. Which advertiser do you think might get put in front of those who might be more likely to buy something? The advertiser spending $5 a day or the one spending $20 a day? It's just something to think about. $5 a day ad sets are not impossible. We've made them work. But typically, what I like to do is I like my ad sets to be a minimum $10 a day. So in your situation, what I would recommend, and there's lots of variables, I'd have to get into your account and figure out what your goals are and see a lot of different things to say exactly what I would do in your case. But if I had to give a general answer, I might do 3 $10 a day ads for your $30 budget, or I may do 2 $15 a day ads. And then I would get data much, much quicker. And then I could make decisions based off of that data and then scale to the next thing or fix something that might not be working. My friends, episode 271 is in the books, and it was a great one because it was your questions. And I hope you guys learned a lot from today's episode. If you do want to get in touch, philgrahamdigital.com is the website, or you can DM me at philgrahamdigital on Instagram. I've got a lot of great episodes ahead. Make sure you guys stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys on the next episode. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.